I would like to sincerely thank the Isaac Regional Council along with the Regional Arts Development Fund for their support in bringing you this interview. The Regional Arts Development Fund is a partnership between the Queensland Government and Isaac Regional Council to support local arts and culture in regional Queensland. When I went on my very first hike earlier in the year, I became hooked. And I know this sounds weird, but I fell in love with my backpack and my boots. I wanted to share with you how great hiking is, so I called in an expert to tell you all about it. Frith Graham runs Girls Trek and has kindly agreed to share some of her experience and adventures with me. Frith, hello, and thank you so much for joining me. I must say, over the years, I have heard all these wonderful things about Girls Trek from so many different people, but I didn't know that you were behind it. So we went to Pony Club together and have a bit of history there, don't we?
We sure do, yeah.
So It was really nice to, find out that you were the brains behind Girls Trek.
Yeah, well, it was, we had some fun times in our childhood, and I remember, it was very sad times for you there at that point of your life where you spent quite a bit of time with our family. And I actually, after you caught up with me that first time, Kelly, I had some time with Mum, and I was talking to Mum about that time, and we had a few laughs and all the different shenanigans that would go on with the different things we had to do, carting those horses around to shows, and Mum with all these kids. But they were good times, and I think very fondly. And I really remember that horse of yours. I can't remember the name of the horse, but he was a chestnut and had white dots.
Ginger, yes. And you had Jolly, didn't you?
I had Jolly, yes. I had Jolly, and then I had Jolly and Tolly.
Yes.
And Tolly was really mean. Tolly was an Arab, and Tolly did not want to be part of the whole show shenanigan. And so Kate had a horse called Bob, remember, who was an awesome show jumper. And Yes, and he was also fabulous at dressage. He was the most wonderful all-rounder. And so when Kate got Cadell, I moved to Bob, which was fabulous because I actually started winning stuff when I got Bob, because on Holly, he was just all a nightmare. It was all I could do to keep this horse pointed at the show ring. He just did not want to be a show horse.
Oh, and Frith, I remember riding, we'd go to Pony Club and then we'd ride home to your place from the Pony Club grounds. And, I remember one day someone said to one of us, "There's no flies on you, but you can see where they've been." And I had no idea what that meant. But it was, referring to freckles, I think.
Yes.
But it's funny the silly things that you remember. But we had so many, great times staying at your place after Pony Club, and I always remember the generosity of your mum and dad and how lovely they were to us. So
that's so good. That's a good memory. And look, it's still there, Kelly, and my brother runs the property now, and it's he doesn't really like horses. He only likes things that you could put diesel or unleaded in. So it's all quad bike now, which is kind of sad. But Swin just never really liked the horses. He just didn't like them. So, but it's all still the same, running the same cattle, and he's done a really great job in just really looking after the country. I think it's been hard. It's tricky. Particularly as we're right next to the 5th largest coal mine in Australia, and it's very hard to navigate running a rural business beside such a scar. and it's difficult. It's difficult. There's a lot of mine dust, but he's done an incredible job, and it's looking beautiful. And so we're very proud of what Swin has achieved up there, particularly with the sustainability and how he calls himself a grass farmer. He doesn't call himself a cattle farmer. So he really has put a lot back into the country, and it's looking good.
And Frith, how wonderful for you that it's still in your family and that you can take your kids there and And because there's a really there's a sense of your history, but it's a place where you put your roots down, isn't it? And it shaped who you were, as our property shaped who we were too. So it's interesting how.
Yes, I 100% agree with what you're saying. And I think, Kelly, at the really, even my motivation behind Girls Trek, I mean, Mum and Dad are parents who are legacy people, and they came from legacy as well. So my father's family came across, Mum's family came across as tea merchants. Dad's family came across in the financial market. And really, Mum's family then moved to, her father drew a block up at Boolyah after the war, and he started his raising of livestock up there. And Dad's family continued in the financial markets. His dad didn't do so well and died very young. And so that was when Dad decided to go farming. And really, from day one, when Mum and Dad came together, they really were about just building. And we have, as a family, the Hudsons, we've stayed together. So we've pooled resources, stayed together. We have off-farm investments now, which I look after. And as a family, we've decided that is a good way to go. And when I think about that and I think about Girls Trek, it's kind of the same. It's the same value of legacy. I'm just really interested in making sure that there is a reason to be here. I'm so strongly purpose-driven, and we all need money because money, helps us live a good life and look after our children's education, which is sort of top of mind for Don and I. And of course, we need funds, but purpose is just huge for me, and I'll sacrifice funds over purpose every day of the week, actually. But I think when you are strongly on purpose, both seem to come. So I think I really do think that you're so right. The way I was raised, whether it was country or not, I guess the way I was raised really has set up the way I've lived my life to now, and will continue to live my life. Yeah,
I think it gets into your soul, doesn't it? And as you said, shapes you who you become. Frith, tell me about Girls Trek. So what was the beginning, the idea of it, and how did it start from your end? Because it was quite unique back in 2010.
Yes, you're right. It was really unique. I mean, we're still the number one national women's-only experience brand, actually, which is pretty cool. But there's definitely some people snapping at our heels in the all-women's space now. But, certainly when we started, it was a very unique thing to do. And really, right at the very, very beginning, I didn't have the expectation that it would go as well as it went. It was really just a chance to give something a go. I've never been scared of anything. I really love business as well. I just enjoy business. I enjoy strategy. And so, but essentially what happened was I was doing some girls' trips. So I'd gone to China, gone to Great Wall of China with a group of girls, and we trekked along the Great Wall. I'd done some trips down in Tasmania, Victorian high country, similar thing, where I just got together a group of girls and we'd gone walking. And I was also, but probably the biggest catalyst was when I was 39, and so I was turning 40, and we all these decade years, what do they do to us? We're just like, I've got to, take measure of my life, and what's the next 10 years going to look like? And I was very fit, Kelly. I was doing a lot of triathlon. I was doing distance running, but I kind of felt like I had this six-pack but an empty suitcase. Inside, I felt like I'd really lost my wild. I was very much just being, this gym, going to the pool, getting on a bike. It was just, I'd really lost touch with nature and as I say, my wild. Because when I was younger, so when I left school, between school and during those university years and so forth, I took a trip to Canada, and everybody else went to the UK, but I went to Canada by myself. And I skied for about 6 months, and then I just took off with a backpack and a tent. And I did some pretty awesome things, really out there things that were, I look back on it now and I think it was quite extreme. At the time, I didn't even think about it. I've never felt afraid in nature ever. So I had this wild old time, and it was great fun. So anyway, just getting back to the start of Girls Trek. So I thought, what am I going to do for my 40th? So I decided I'd sign up with this all-girls team. We did a 100-kilometre endurance event, which we decided to run, which was crazy. And then I also did this really beautiful trip to Tasmania, which we got flown in by light aircraft, dropped, and then we had to walk out. It took us 8 days to walk out. And after just before this event, I said to my neighbour, who also, used to really enjoy going away with groups of girls, can I borrow your walking poles? Because I'm pretty sure at the end of this endurance event, my legs are going to be cactus. And she said, sure. And at that time in my life, we were doing these roast dinners on a Sunday night. We'd invite a family over. So as a thank you, I said to her, come over for dinner with your family and to thank you for loaning the trekking poles. And during this dinner, we had a few red wines, and we talked about how there was a gap in providing a supportive environment to women to really be the best for themselves, get fit, not be in a competitive environment, really understand their health, but just from a very much a natural point of view, not going to a gym, not having to run a 21K half marathon. And so we just went, well, let's just give it a go. And 10 days later, we had a business. And we just started to build the trips. I mean, I've always been the trip constructor, if you like, because I do have a very solid foundation in understanding how to put these journeys together. And so the first year we just sent 2 trips, and then the second year 5, and then the third year we sent 15. So the business just, at the end of year 2, I realised this was a thing, and we had a great opportunity to really build this to be something quite special. And that's certainly what has happened.
Yeah, Frith, just getting back to what you said, you felt like there was your suitcase was packed, but there was nothing in it. It's amazing how we can have really busy lives and so much going on, but we can still feel that little bit of emptiness somewhere. And that's just, I think, the universe telling us that there's something missing. And so you have to go in search of what that something is, and you have to be brave enough, I guess, to put yourself out there. Would you agree?
Oh, look, I absolutely agree. And the thing is that it's hard to do that if you don't have people around you who can support you. And there are so many transformational stories of women that have joined Girls Track. I couldn't even in, a 1 hour, 3 hour, 10 hour conversation share all of those with you. But I have seen significant growth in people. I've seen full changes in women. And the thing is that they were brave enough to come to us, which that takes bravery, particularly the women that come to us by themselves, to turn up and say, I'm going to do this trip. I'm not going to know anybody on this trip. I'm just going to give it a go, is pretty amazing. But that takes bravery, just that step right there. But once they come to us and they are just so supported, they are with all these women who are enabling them to really go in and find all those empty bits and pieces and to cry and to air punch and to feel so great about themselves, to reflect. It's just extraordinary. And coming back to what we were talking about earlier about what's your sort of spirit thing in the world and fire, and you talked about yours is the bubbling creek, and for me it's trees. just even having the open space in your mind to be able to consider that, and then guess what? Share it with others and not feel like a freak. It's just beautiful. And I think that if there's one thing, just coming back to the legacy piece, if there's just one thing that I've done on this planet while I've been here, is to give, and I feel quite emotional about this, but to give these women that chance, that opportunity, it is absolutely why I do it. Like that is the thing, which is why I always tear up when I talk about it, because I just think it's so important to know who you are and to really love that person and really allow that person to be what it needs, what you need to be. And you've got to get away from all of your everyday busyness so that you can find it, because otherwise you don't have the space and the chance to do it, and you need to be around other people that go, good on you. So, yeah.
Frith, I want to get back and ask you about if you could share one or two of those transformational stories with us. But I just want to say, reading through your website, the treks don't start and finish on the day they start and finish, do they? Because you support the women leading up. You have training days every weekend, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's so important, because I guess I'm probably fitter than, I'm not a triathlete by any stretch of the imagination, but I have a certain level of fitness. But there's a lot of women that would go on those trips that don't even have the fitness that I have. So to be in that supportive space even before they start is tremendous.
Mm. Yeah, look, so from the beginning, that was just for me, that had to happen. So I didn't want to create this experience business and not have the front end. So it had to be part of it. And so when you do sign up with us, that's part of it. And we've gone with the times. I mean, we have clients from everywhere now, so they can't, say, attend our training in Brisbane on a Saturday or attend our training at the Gold Coast. But we do now have a lot of online programs, and we also provide people with a training plan. So if you're, which we do, we've got plenty of clients from Durham-Bandy and Longreach, and a lot of country women come and do our trips, Gundawindi, etc. So they can actually use our training plans to go, okay, today I need to walk, 8Ks, I need to put 5 kilos in my backpack, etc. So they can keep training. I mean, one of my clients who is just extraordinary, she's our pin-up girl. She's 72 years old. She lives on a property south of Gundy, southwest, I think, of Gundy. And honestly, this woman, she just follows our training program. If it says stair work, she climbs up their grain silos. She just does whatever she's got around her, she just uses it. But she uses this training program. And we have also set our groups up now on WhatsApp. So when you join a trip, you join a WhatsApp group. So girls post into the WhatsApp, this was my sunrise this morning, or this was if they're out there training. So it creates that community before you've even gone on the trip. So you're starting to enjoy your holiday before you've gone on your holiday. It's really nice.
Yeah. And that's all part of it, isn't it, the training? Because when I went on mine earlier in the year, the training was just, I'd take the dogs out with me because, I live remotely. So, and it just builds, and it gets you even more excited because you're getting, fitter and fitter, and it's all part of it, I think, rather than, but we didn't have a WhatsApp group or anything. So that's really a great idea.
Yeah.
Frith, are you able to share some of those stories of, women's success on those, and
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is there's grades of the story. Probably if I talk generally about what happens, there's variations or grades of that same story in each person. So without super generalizing, what I do see is that there's a shift. There's always a shift, and the shift can be significant or the shift can be smaller, but just as significant. So what I think women tend to do, which is really unfortunate, because I see that women are the leaders, they're the true leaders. And although men go out and, I say women load the gun and men go out and shoot it. I don't know, that's probably not very politically correct, but I do think that a lot of the decisions or what is seen as leadership externally from a man actually starts with the woman's leadership in the home, in the relationship in the home. And so why wouldn't we be these incredibly confident, I can take on and I can tackle everything humans? Like, to me that seems a little strange, but then there are times that I definitely doubt myself. So it's all about this horrible word doubt, and then right beside that horrible word doubt is the other horrible word guilt. So guilt and doubt go hand in hand, and women put themselves on the back burner, and although they're doing all the support, which I call leadership, because there wouldn't be, I bet in your home, Kelly, there wouldn't be many discussions about your business, about your life choices that you're going to make, investments, etc., that you don't sit at the kitchen table with your husband and have those conversations together. And so, there's true leadership in the home, as I say. So what I see is that women just have this doubt and this guilt, and how often it manifests is, I'm not sure that I can do that. So I'm not sure that I can do that. I think that might be a little too difficult for me, and I'm worried that I won't make it. And I'm also very worried that I'll let everybody else down. So we know these words, we've heard these phrases. So, there's a summit in this trek. That'll be too much for me. And I just don't want to hold everybody up and be a nuisance to everyone. So what we do to counteract that is, and I don't know whether I should be giving all the secrets away, but is that with our itineraries, we give you the facts. So we say, okay, you're going to do 15 Ks this day. There'll be 800 in elevation, let's say, as an example. But we don't go really hardcore into it. We don't make it so. That's my son coming up the stairs. We've brought all the free labour home for a bit of a working bee. So we don't. It's not that we dress over the details, but we just don't go really hard into exactly what you're going to experience, because 10 times out of 10, if I get the women there, they will get up there. And when they get up there, it blows their mind. And there's just this change, this physiological change, this mental change. And the way Girls Trek goes about it is, we want to put you in really comfortable accommodation every night. We want to put a beautiful glass of wine in your hand and a beautiful meal to eat. And that sense of celebration is, A, it's a holiday, but B, it is a time to come together and for people to feel truly proud of what they've accomplished. I'll give you an example of just a trip I did very recently, just only a month ago, and we did a 9-hour trek, which was pretty significant to the walls of Jerusalem, which is pretty hard. Mm-hmm. And honestly, one of the girls, before, she didn't tell me this, but she told her friend, she just didn't think she was going to make the whole thing. She thought she was going to have to turn around and just meet us, just to have to sort of sit it out. But she just kept going, because when you're there with others and everyone's supporting you on the pathway, you just keep going together. And it's just one step, and no problems. And she was so proud of herself. I really couldn't believe what she'd done and so excited. And that is awesome, because then you take that same feeling and that same strength of self and you go and you use it in other parts of your life.
Yeah, it's that sense of achievement and knowing that, hey, you surprise yourself, don't you, that this is something you can do. So if I can climb that summit, I can, work through this other challenge when I get home in real life, For me, Frith, when and look, I had never considered hiking before, and I went with a girlfriend who turned 60, and it was lovely to reconnect with her, and it was a very small group that I went on. But I did things like I don't like cold water. Every day we went swimming in, icy water, and I actually liked it. I enjoyed it. And, they talked me through being able to do that. I climbed the highest highest peak in Tasmania, and I'm scared of heights. When I'm looking up at it, and I was thinking, I had that same sensation of when you get on a roller coaster, and the thing comes and buckles you in, and you look up and you think, oh no, I just want to get off. This is too high. But I was so pleased that I did it, and it gives you a lot of strength and courage, and I just loved it. And I honestly fell in love with my backpack and my boots, and I thought, what have I been missing all my life?
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought, Frith, was we have to do things like this while we still can, because there will come a day, like I look at my dad, he couldn't do that anymore. So there comes a day when you will be unable to do that and take on those challenges. And I just think it's so important to embrace that while you have the opportunity and surprise yourself.
Yes, I mean, it is really key. And also we know, all the evidence, we've got dementia in our family, Alzheimer's, it's quite strong, and I've always been very concerned about that. And so I do a lot of reading and listening in that area to see what I can do. And all the evidence points toward an excellent diet, whole food, mostly plant-based style diet, exercise, and not just I do the gardening or I clean the house. True exercise, real exercise where you're breathing heavily, your body is hurting, that is required. And also discomfort. You talked about before about being scared of heights. Taking yourself to a place where you are uncomfortable. Now, that doesn't mean when you climb that summit, it's not unsafe. That is not an unsafe thing for you to do. But what it does do is it puts your brain into discomfort, because it's saying, oh, Kelly, what are you doing to me? But then it has to think, and it has to think differently it's got a pattern interrupt. And these are key. And then the last one is sleep. And oh my goodness, how well do you sleep when you do a trek? It's like, oh. So, the sleep of your life, it's quiet and you're tired, and it's just the best sleep ever. So it's key, and we will run out of time eventually, because we all have to die, but we can keep ourselves in really good trek shape for a long time. And also with Girls Trek, what I've started to do, well, it's always been a thing. I'm very into local communities, so that's huge for me. I appreciate that there are plenty of trekking companies around where they build their own lodges, and you walk from one of their lodges to another of their lodges, and that's good, and it's a good model, and it's a big model, and that's great. But I am more interested in Joe down the road who's got got a deli, that pub, that accommodation that's privately run. That to me is what I want to do, because I come from family business, so that I want to put money back into local community, and I want to share it around. To give you the example of Mole Creek, where we stay before we do Walls of Jerusalem, we stay at the pub, but we go down the road and we have dinner at the Wandering Trout, because then the money is shared in the community. We're not just staying at the pub and eating at the pub and drinking at the pub, say. So we want to share our money around. But just to my point, I am talking a lot about wine and pub, but I actually really am into good food. And so with our trips as well, we like to visit local producers where we can and show food being grown in a really sustainable and excellent way where the end product is very good for you and is of high quality, and really honouring that kind of production and honouring those people that provide food in that way. And we've started some culinary journeys which really go much harder into that and showcase that. So we still do the walking, but we're also doing the visits to the small producers, and it's very successful. Women are really loving that because it's, I guess for me, as this underlying it is. It's an underlying agenda where I say you need to look at your health in all ways. You need to enable your spirit to rise. So I've talked about that today, allowing who are you and allowing that to rise. Making sure you stay healthy with your fitness, actually doing things that are strenuous, and also thinking about how can I eat better? How can I make really good choices that are going to help farmers, help local farmers, help the production of food as we, move forward in these very uncertain times in terms of, I hate that word. Why did I use uncertain? It's been used so much, but it is COVID's been a thing, but man, the bigger thing is the fact that the climate is changing and we need to deal with that. And we need to make sure that we can, we can help the planet survive. So I feel pretty strong about that.
Yeah. The other thing is, talking about COVID, I think we've all learnt how important it is to support small business as well. So you saying that, you're spreading your money around, that is so important to those people who live in those regions, because without them, your visits there wouldn't be as comfortable if you couldn't get a nice meal and whatever, nice accommodation. So, I was thinking too, Frith, talking about the changes in how it shapes you and changes you. When I climbed that summit, I was a completely different person going up than I was coming down. Like I felt like Xena, warrior woman, coming down, and felt confident. Right. And whereas going up, I was thinking, please don't throw rocks down on me, and I'll step to the side because I don't want, if you fall, I don't want to fall too. And it's amazing how you can change just like that. So, just feel that confidence. Frith, how often do you get to go now? Because you're so busy and you have lots of great people helping you. But how often do you physically go on your treks?
Well, less than I used to. I've got a really strong team who are incredible and who are so welded on to Girls Trek. They're so with me in my purpose and passion. However, for me, look, I'm actually about to go into a very busy period where I've worked out I'm going to be away 5 times in about 5 weeks. So that's going to be pretty full on. And that's come around a lot of, because there's been a lot of pressure on us from COVID, where we've got a lot of clients from last year that are rolling forward into this year and having there's experiences they were meant to have last year, they're having them now. So that would be a usual thing. But my hope is that I can be, I'd like to, maybe 7 times a year, something like that would be ideal for me. I have created a signature range now. So those trips are one-offs. They're all things that I will go. So it's a Frith journey. I create all the journeys we have, but we have many journeys which we've been doing for many, many years now. They're still incredible. They're still amazing. But these signature trips will have a bit more of a twist. The signature trips as well, they tend to be a bit more, they're a bit more full on, I suppose. Not necessarily full on in terms of, higher peaks or longer Ks, or not so much that, but more we're on the go. We're really, there's not too much time for resting, I guess. Some of our trips we build in some really great opportunities just to have a bit of rest time and kick back and get a massage and things like that. My signature journeys there'll be less of that. We'll have that massage when we get home, and more getting out there and seeing more. I would say that about them. Yes, but for me, I also have a fairly, have to keep a pretty big program of recce's, so getting away and trying out different destinations and seeing how that's going to work, creating relationships in the local community. So that all takes time and energy, and so that lessens the amount of time I can take the other trips. But as I say, I've got the guides I have they're awesome. Yeah, so I'm lucky.
Frith, what's your favourite place that you've ever been to?
So I always get asked that, Kelly. It's just, and normally it's the first question. Oh, what's your favourite trip? And look, it's so difficult. It's the same question as what's your favourite child, Kelly? Who's the favourite? So there's things about those children that you love that are different. You don't love them all in the same way. You love them in different ways. And so I find it, I really struggle. I mean, there are trips like the King Valley, which I love because I love the Pizzini family and I love the way they've opened their hearts and opened their family to us. And it just makes for a beautiful experience down there. It feels like you're in Italy. It's an Italian valley north of Melbourne. I really love going there. I absolutely love going to the Kosciuszko region. I am quite a spiritual person. Nature is absolutely my church. And there is a peak down in the Kosciuszko National Park, which is called Carruthers Peak. And I just get this incredible feeling whenever I go there. I feel the energy coming up from the land. It's quite amazing. So I love going there. I love the Blue Mountains. I think I've guided that trip to the Blue Mountains something like 12 or 14 times. I always love it. I'm always astounded by the geology of that area. So I love it so much. I love Tassie. How can you not love Tassie? It's just such a beautiful state. There's so much interest and so many interesting things to do. Look, I've just got back from South Australia. I was in the McLaren Vale. I'm just obsessed with meeting interesting people. I'm obsessed with meeting people that are living their dream. That isn't easy. I love finding places that are new and unique and a little bit off the beaten track. Internationally, we took a trip to Norway, which was so inspiring. We hiked along the Lissi Fjord. It was a full wilderness trek, that one, actually. We had to take our own hammock tents to sleep in and so forth. But then I love what's not to love about putting on a beautiful silk dress and sucking up the glamour of Hong Kong and going to a rooftop bar and having beautiful gin and tonic. So I love it all.
Yeah. Oh, Frith, what an interesting life you have, and I'm in awe of you. And I am certainly going to join a girls' trek before too much longer because I am hooked. It's very, very addictive, and
yes,
I can't think of anybody better who I'd like to go with. So thanks, Frith, so much, because I know how busy you are, and I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
and, I can't wait to join one of your trips. Get my boots out and my pack out again.
Yeah, well, I certainly always, I always love talking about it. It's pretty easy. My kids, especially my girls, they always say, "Oh, Mom, you just go on about it. So, you really go on and on about it." So, anyway, it was lovely to talk to you, Kelly. Thank you very much.
See you. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please try to remember to just click on the subscribe button so we can keep you updated with everything that's happening. Thank you.